John McAleese is one of those figures whose name might not be immediately familiar, but whose actions shaped how Britain understands special forces, counter-terrorism, and quiet professionalism in warfare. Best known as the SAS soldier who led the assault on the Iranian Embassy in 1980, McAleese's career was far broader and far harder than a single moment of fame suggests. From a working-class upbringing in Scotland, through the Royal Engineers and into the SAS, his life traces the reality of elite soldiering across Northern Ireland, the Falklands, and some of the most politically sensitive operations of the late 20th century. This story follows McAleese through his early life, through his time in the army, with particular focus on the Iranian Embassy siege, before examining his later career, post-military life, and the legacy that turned him both into a real-world icon and the inspiration for one of gaming's most recognisable characters. This is a story of Staff Sergeant John McAleese, one of the many British war heroes. Now, before we get into the video, 99% of you who watch these videos are not subscribed. Now, if you enjoy this video or my content, then please consider leaving a like on this video and subscribing. It really helps me out and it lets you stay up to date with my channel. John Thomas McAleese was born on the 25th of April 1949 in Stirling, Scotland, and grew up in the nearby village of Lauriston in Falkirk. He was a twin and came from a working-class Scottish background that shaped his blunt manner and his direct outlook on life. There was nothing particularly glamorous about his early years. He left school without much fanfare and worked briefly before deciding that civilian life was not for him. Unlike some soldiers who arrive in elite units with a sense of destiny, John McAleese joined the army later than many. At the age of 20, driven more by restlessness and a desire for challenge, in 1969 he enlisted in the British Army and was posted to the Royal Engineers. This was a technical corps focused on demolition, construction and mobility, and it suited McAleese's practical mindset. He learnt the fundamentals of explosives, field engineering, and soldiering under pressure. During this period, he developed a reputation as someone who was physically tough and not prone to panic. He was not polished, and he was not interested in impressing officers, but he was reliable, which mattered far more in combat units. In 1973, he passed the All-Arms Commando course, earning the Green Beret and transferring to 59 Independent Commando Squadron, Royal Engineers. This marked his first step into a more demanding and unconventional military world. Even within commando units, McAleese was looking for something harder. In 1975, he volunteered for Special Air Service selection. He, like many, did not pass the first time, failing the final fitness test after breaking an ankle during the course. Unlike many who would have been quietly dropped, he was retained and allowed to return once recovered. On his second attempt, he passed and was badged into 22 SAS Regiment. This persistence became a defining trait. McAleese was not the most athletic or the most outwardly impressive man in the room, but once committed, he did not quit. With the SAS, he served in B Squadron, specifically Pagoda Troop. Life in the regiment was defined by long periods of training, secrecy, and readiness for operations that might never be publicly acknowledged. McAleese thrived in this environment. He was known for being calm under pressure, blunt in speech, and utterly reliable in action. He did not romanticize the work. For him, soldiering was a job to be done properly, not a stage on which to perform. Everything changed dramatically in April 1980, when 6 armed Iranian Arab separatists seized the Iranian Embassy in Prince's Gate, London, taking 26 hostages. The siege lasted 6 days and quickly became a national and international spectacle. Behind the scenes, the SAS was brought in under the codename Operation Nimrod. McAleese, then a sergeant, was chosen to lead the assault team responsible for the front of the building. The planning for the assault was meticulous. The SAS rehearsed repeatedly in a near-identical building nearby, inserting listening devices and studying the layout in detail. McAleese led what became known as Blue Team, tasked with making entry through the first-floor balcony at the front of the embassy. Their role was dangerous and exposed, requiring an abseil in full view of television cameras and the public. On the 5th of May 1980, after the terrorists had killed a hostage and threw his body from the building, the order was given to assault. Millions watched live as McAleese slid down a rope onto the balcony, placed a small explosive charge on the window frame, and blew his way into the building. The explosion, smoke, and noise caused immediate disorientation inside. What followed was a violent and chaotic close-quarters battle lasting minutes. McAleese led from the front, moving through smoke and debris, clearing rooms, identifying hostages, and engaging armed terrorists. 5 of the 6 hostage takers were killed, 1 was captured, and 19 hostages were rescued alive. The assault lasted just 17 minutes, but its impact was enormous. It brought instant global fame to the SAS and reshaped public understanding of counter-terrorism. McAleese became an iconic figure overnight, even though his identity remained officially unacknowledged for years. Images of a masked soldier with a submachine gun became symbolic of British Special Forces professionalism. For McAleese himself, the operation was simply a job completed successfully. He later described his role in plain terms, focusing on rehearsed drills rather than heroics. After the embassy siege, McAleese continued to serve in the SAS during some of the most intense conflicts in the late Cold War. In 1982, he deployed to the Falklands War, where the regiment conducted reconnaissance, raiding, and security tasks in harsh conditions. These operations were far less visible than Operation Nimrod, but no less demanding. During the 1980s, McAleese also served extensively in Northern Ireland during the Troubles. This was arguably the most morally and psychologically difficult phase of his career. Operations were secretive, politically sensitive, and often involved long periods of surveillance punctuated by sudden violence. In 1987, he was awarded the Military Medal for gallantry during operations in County Armagh, linked to the Lochgore ambush, in which an IRA unit attacking a police station was intercepted and destroyed by the SAS. Details of his citation were never published, reflecting the secrecy surrounding these operations. He was also present during later ambushes such as Drumnickley in 1988. These actions were effective but controversial, and McAleese himself never sought to justify or glorify them. He spoke about combat in blunt language, acknowledging the violence without embellishment. To him, these operations were about preventing future attacks and protecting lives, not about personal achievement. McAleese left the army in 1992, with the rank of Staff Sergeant after more than 17 years in the SAS. Like many Special Forces veterans, he struggled to adapt fully to civilian life. He briefly ran a pub in Hereford, close to the regiment's home, but soon returned to security-related work. He operated as a private security contractor in conflict zones including Iraq and Afghanistan, applying his experience to protecting people and infrastructure in unstable environments. In the early 2000s, McAleese became more publicly visible through television. He appeared in BBC programmes such as SAS Survival Secrets and SAS Are You Tough Enough, openly criticising the myth-making surrounding special forces while still explaining their role. His appearance, with a drooping moustache and a gravelly voice, reinforced a certain image of the SAS soldier that contrasted sharply with the polished stereotypes often seen in fiction. His personal life was marked by tragedy. In 2009, his eldest son, Paul, serving as a sergeant in the British Army, was killed by a roadside bomb in Afghanistan. Those close to McAleese described this as devastating. He moved to Greece not long afterwards, withdrawing from public life. He died of a heart attack in his sleep on the 26th of August 2011 in Thessaloniki, aged 62. Tragically, his second wife, Joanna, would commit suicide in 2018, victim of many horrible events and loss in her life. McAleese's legacy extends beyond his real military career into popular culture. He is widely cited as one of the primary inspirations for Captain Price, the iconic character in the Call of Duty franchise. The resemblance is definitely not subtle. The mustache, the blunt authority, and the calm competence under fire all echo McAleese's public persona. Unlike many figures turned into legends, McAleese never seemed comfortable with the attention. He rejected romantic language. What remains is the image of a professional soldier who did his job with precision, courage, and very little concern for how it would look afterward. His actions during the Iranian Embassy siege alone would have secured his place in history, but it was the quieter consistency of his service across decades of conflict that defined who he really was. If you enjoyed this video going through John McAleese, one of the many SAS legends, then give this video a like, subscribe and turn that bell notification on, share this video with your friends, and most importantly, comment, let me know who you'd like me to talk about next, or any other videos you'd like to see from me in the future. Because sometimes history doesn't need a rewrite. It just needs to be told properly.